Hello, good evening and welcome. It's Wednesday night once again, which means it's time for the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League show. Oh, we're getting closer to the end of the season. For some teams, they've already packed up, gone home, had the Mad Mondays or whatever the equivalent is in the community ranks, and they're licking their wounds or celebrating where they've finished. They've avoided relegation. They've got in playoffs. They've got knocked out of playoffs. They've celebrated hard, boogied hard, and now they're ready for a bit of a rest. Okay, we're not. We're still keeping going. So I'm Dave Parkinson, joined as ever by Mr. Steve Beech. Steve, how are you doing? You all right, mate?
I'm doing fine, Parky, but obviously we're indoors this week, and last week obviously we were out in the great outdoors at the TW Stadium.
Yes.
With that cracking match. Really enjoyed that. Got to admit, I'm looking forward to doing more of those, certainly next season.
Some great blokes involved for both sides as well. I mean, we had a bit of a chance to have a chat with Mick Ostick from the police side after the game, didn't we? He came across and was telling us all about him joining the police and being with them. And then some of those Australian guys, they are characters. I love them. They were superb, actually.
Oh, they were absolutely more than superb. I mean, on the pitch, certainly second half, when they started getting it together, as we said during commentary, you could see it really rubbed off. And it was great talking to them about how the rugby's structured over there from the sort of format. And when they said they had, was it something like 460 policemen?
460 policemen registered to play.
That's unbelievable, isn't it?
Okay, well, you compare that, and I think there is a squad of about 30, and they don't know from game to game, from week to week, whether any of them is going to be available because of shifts and all the other sort of impacts. So the fact that they play an organised league structure as well in New South Wales, which was really impressive, So on that day, it was New South Wales Police 44, Great Britain Police 4. I was really pleased when Great Britain Police finally got over the try line, because their efforts deserved it, and but for a couple of wayward passes and maybe occasionally going a little bit wide too early, they would have troubled the defence a little bit more than they actually did, wouldn't they?
Yeah, massive learning curve for them, but that's what it is. It's a learning curve, and great lads to have a chat to later on as well, and all very accommodating.
It was a great honour for us to be able to bring that very to you, and I hope if you caught it, that you enjoyed it. Not only live, because we did have a couple of listeners live, didn't we? And some quite good figures in that way, and some people who were far flung as well. So we had Australian listeners 3 o'clock in the morning over there, listening to our dulcet tones. They're nothing better to do.
I just hope there was subtitles on there.
Listen, everyone can understand the Lee accent. That's what I'm saying anyway. I'm sticking to that one. But yeah, it was a fantastic occasion for us. As we have said, and as Steve alluded to, we are hoping that at certain points over the next season that we are able to do exactly the same thing. Get out and about, perhaps in NCL, North West Men's, and any other representative rugby league that we can. We'll ask the questions as well about the early rounds of the Challenge Cup, because I would like to bring those, and the Barlow Cup, of course.
Yeah, definitely the Barlow Cup. Yeah.
So, keep your eyes, I was going to say keep your eyes peeled, but it should be something to do with ears, really, shouldn't it? It's because we're a podcast, so keep your ears to the ground.
Keep your ears to the ground, keep your eyes to Twitter, because that's where you'll probably see anything that we post out, because we certainly will.
But it was an absolute delight to do that game, and we hope that we are able to bring you more coverage. So as a result of our usual, our usual format being disrupted somewhat in us having a live broadcast, we're going to give you a little bit more. We're back to basics, so we're going to be reviewing what's happened over the last 2 weekends as we've reached playoff, and all the fixtures have been done and dusted in the National Conference League, and we're going to be catching up with what's been going on in the other community regional leagues. I know certainly it sounds like you were at an absolute cracking game at the weekend, Steve.
Yeah, I was at North West Men's League Premiership playoff match between Haresfinch and Orrell St James, and it was at Haresfinch. It was absolutely top class match. It was one of those where you couldn't ask for anything better. The actual quality of the rugby league was superb. There was that sort of real, sort of let's get stuck into each other because there's a big prize at the end of it, and at the end of it, it was great to be at a game where all the fans went into the bar and had a couple of beers afterwards, and it was a good turnout on both sides as well.
That's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But I do want to start us off by looking at Cumbria. So we are in the Eagles and Cumberland League, and the results. Well, Egremont 54, Cockermouth 30.
Ooh.
So I was ready. Do you see what I did there? I was waiting to drop it in there. So Egremont 54, Cockermouth 30. It was 28-24 this one at half time. Interesting to look amongst the Egremont try scorers though. So I reckon there's a couple of names that you'll recognise from our other parts of the show over the course of the season. So a hat-trick was scored by Dylan Scott. 3 tries as well scored by Aaron Turnbull. 2 by Jake Conway. Matt Busher and Brad Long scored 1 each, with Caden Block kicking 7 goals. For Cockermouth, well, they had tries from Lewis Bancroft, who grabbed 2. Ed Gate, Ash Smith and Lewis Bell each scored 1 try, with conversions for them being split between Ed Gate, who landed 2, Regan Tinian and Callum Fox, who kicked 1 each. So, fantastic result there for Egremont. And like I say, it sounds like a bit of a mixed team there. There's some of the lads which have been going so well in National Conference League. But obviously they've put their hands up and says, you know what, we want a game as well. And perhaps, we're at that strange sort of time of year, aren't we, where perhaps there's injuries and fatigue and other things that have come into the mix. Also, last Friday, Dissington 60, Ellenborough Rangers A 4. So at half time, Dissington were leading 44 points to 0. Their elevation into the National Conference League for me can't come quick enough, because they've been running in these sort of scores all the way through the season, which is full credit to them. So their tries came the way of Lewis Whitehead. He grabbed a hat-trick. Jack Penrice scored 3. Scott Rook with 2. Jack Worthington with 2. Brian Ritchie with 1 try, with 8 goals from the boot of the ever-dependable Stephen Clark. Ellenborough, though, they really did, stick at it in the second half. They only lost that one by 16 points to 4. They grabbed a try through Riley Burr. It was a deserved consolation. Then on Saturday, it was Lauca 24, Wath Brow 50. So Lauca, they had a hat-trick from the man that we mention every week. He must be close to getting whatever the Man of Steel award is in Cumbria, to be fair. Mitch Todd scoring a hat-trick. Bobby Ennis scoring the other try for Lauca. 4 goals from the boots of Jamie Scott. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough. And a strong Wath Brow display. So a couple of tries from Clark Riley, Jensen Alstrom, Luke Spivey, Devon Sharp, who's done so well for the England Community Lions representative sides over the summer, Dale Stable, Luke Davison, Brad White and James McCartney all scored tries. It was a busy afternoon for Jensen Alstrom. He kicked 7 goals as well. And in the other outstanding game, Maryport 54, Hensingham A20. So Maryport were 30-0 to the good at half time, and they scored tries overall through Kieran Featherstone with 2, Danny Dryden with 2, Joel Baker with 2, Blake Miller, Chris Ivison and Luke Baker all had 1 each, with the conversions split or going the way of Blake Miller. He was able to add all 9 of his goals. For Hensingham A, they scored tries through Luke Clements with 2, Luke Charlton, Wayne Laverick, with conversions split between John Carrick and Miller Dalton, 1 each for the pair of them. So that finished 54 points to 20. Some high scoring games there this week, wasn't there, in Cumbria?
Do you know what? I don't think they teach defence up there in Cumbria, because they like scoring tries, I must admit. But we've said this with Egremont in the NCL, haven't we? That it doesn't matter how many the other team scored, they will go ahead and they will, really put the, sort of clean it through some teams. So it must be, attack must be the main thing.
Well, I have got a game to update you on where attack wasn't the main focus, but that's to come. But really interesting. Again, thanks to Lorraine de Graaf for sending all through the information through. We really appreciate it, and it was nice going up to Dissington a couple of weeks ago and seeing a couple of these lads in action. So now I've got an idea. Jack Penrice. He's done a lovely piece up there about becoming a modern apprentice and working through an apprenticeship. So he's done a lovely piece there for the guys that have took him on and to really boost that side of things. But he's a very decent fullback, and I do know that teams higher up the National Conference League echelons have been sniffing round, but apparently he's wanting to stop. He's wanting to do it with his own village side when they go into the NCL next season. So yes, that's everything that's going on in Cumbria. Shall we switch over to the National Conference League? So what I'm going to talk about is the results from last week, because as we said, we couldn't go into the same level of detail that we usually would like. So I was over at Wath Brow Hornets, to be honest, and Wath Brow, they were taking on Siddal. So Siddal, if you go back 10 weeks, they were facing a clash against relegation. They had a real mixed bag of a start to the season, despite winning the Barla National Cup. And, the coaching staff that came in there, Jake Connor as head coach, Gareth English as his assistant, they tried to turn the ship around, and they managed it. And as we talked about a couple of weeks ago when we did the show, it almost seemed like nobody else wanted to get into the playoffs because of the results on the last regular weekend of the season. But Siddal did just that. They climbed up. They got themselves into 5th position. So that pitted them against 4th place Wath Brow Hornets away. And I've got to say, I haven't seen a more exciting game than this one all season. So this playoff semi-final had a bit of everything. Excellent defence, crisp attacking play, couple of sin bins, and a result that was in doubt until the final whistle. In fact, the game was seconds away from going into extra time when Jake Hancock saw a drop goal attempt charge down. Siddal regained possession and quickly set up another attempt, with scrum half Christian Ackroyd christening a fine individual performance with the winning kick, resulting in jubilant scenes. So there was 2 coach loads of people that went up to Wath Brow. One of them was the team, but that was also full of other spectators and everything like that. And there was some tremendous scenes at full time there. There's a lovely picture that accompanies the match report that I'm going through on the RFL website that was taken up there of them celebrating wildly at the end. Fantastic stuff. So a close encounter started when Wath Brow Hornets, who had already beaten Siddal twice in the league, were looking more lively. Their pack, led by the prompting of hooker Owen McCartney and loose forward Charlie Tomlinson, set a platform for Dean Rooney and Cole Walker-Taylor to use. The first try came 9 minutes in when Walker-Taylor chipped forward and Rooney won the race to reclaim the ball before sliding a further kick that looked like it would be dealt with by Siddal wing Courtney Allott, only for Wath Brow's Greg Howland to get a boot to it first and chase through to score. Walker-Taylor gold. The host dominated territory for much of the half, with Siddal indebted to the clearing runs of fullback Ollie Lewis and kicking from the aforementioned Jack Hancock and Ackroyd. Chances were few and far between for the visitors, with Wath Brow looking controlled and composed. Siddal player coach Gareth English was sin-binned for dissent after questioning the authority of Dewsbury referee Jenkinson after conceding a 35th minute penalty. Wath Brow spied their chance when Frank King and Walker-Taylor combined to give Howland a running chance down the right, and he skipped over for his 8th try of the season on the cusp of half-time to hand his side a 10-0 advantage. Siddal attacked from the kick-off, winning possession, which then brought a spell of dominance. They were unable to get over the line, but the solid start to the new half continued when Wath Brow prop Callum Farrer was sin-binned for a dangerous tackle on English. Siddal had their possession again and after Rushworth was stopped on the line, English took matters into his own hands, driving past Tomlinson for their first score after 49 minutes. Impressive centre Joe Martin goaled, and it was 10 points to 6. The visitors continued to take the game to Wath Brow, and it was the hosts that now couldn't get close enough to apply real pressure. Eventually, Siddal worked some space, and a superb pass under pressure from Sam Walsh resulted in wing Dom Booth touching down in the corner. Martin couldn't goal, and as the game moved into the last 10 minutes, it was 10-all. Both sides traded drop goal attempts, with Walker Taylor and Rooney missing for the hosts, while Ackroyd saw an effort drop under the post and flashed another wide before the late drama and subsequent winner sparked contrasting emotions and brought a thrilling playoff game, televised in our league, to a close. It was an absolutely fantastic game, that one. And I genuinely felt sorry for Wath Brow Hornets, because neither side deserved to lose that. If you could have took both of those sides into the semi-final, you would have done, because they were flaming brilliant.
Yeah, and that's what we like in it. That when it's on the line, everybody puts the heart and soul and the bodies on the line as well.
Oh, there was commitment. There was bodies, there was limbs all over the place at the end. Players dropping to the floor, wild celebrations and hugs and commiserations all round for the hosts. And in the aftermath of all that, I got to speak to the two guys that were in charge on the day. So first of all, I caught up with Wath Brow's Ian Rooney, and this is what he had to say. Joined by Ian Rooney. Ian, how do you sum that game up? I mean, your side gave it everything, and then for it to finish and come down to a drop goal.
Difficult to take at the moment. Obviously, defeat's a bit of pill, but it's not like we've been beaten off a side that didn't give their all as well. So I knew we'd in Guy's side. We spoke beforehand, and I'm sure he said similar, that it was going to be a battle. I thought it was a cracking advert, or it seemed it from the dugout, for those who've been online and watched it. It's a hard one at the moment, Dave, but I thought in the first half we were really composed. We had 20 sets, we completed 19, and the only one we didn't was young Jack, who's come in, has come for a high ball, and I thought he's been great all day. And it's gone forward, and that can happen on kicks, especially when they're good ones. I thought I had some great displays out there. Couldn't fault us for effort or enthusiasm, and the same will go for the Siddal side. Ingai will be real pleased with their effort and their enthusiasm, and there's always some things that you think, what happened there? And we were on the back of a slandered penalty count, and listen, this is nothing against the Siddal side. We wish them all the very best. They're a very, very good side and a very, very good club. But I'll need to ask the referee. I don't know what some of the signals were. I'd need to look at the game back, and maybe some of them were and I was just too far away. But I just think in possession is difficult to take penalties, and the kick one I don't know. And to be fair to Ingai, fantastic rugby league man, he's come to me and said, "You mate just tackle me ribcage," and I thought that was allowed, and he's put him in the bin for 10 minutes, which is a strange one. So I don't know, but listen, no ref, no game, so he didn't influence the game heavy enough to. But there's some strange ones, and I need to learn and look at what we could have done better. But all the very best to Siddal.
I know it's always a hard one, but I mean, how do you rate this season, overall? Because I mean, it's been very competitive once again. A lot of people weren't talking even about Wath Brow, which in some respects, I suppose you must see that as. Well, I don't know. How do you see it if nobody's talking about you?
No, I think it's a good thing. We come so close each year, and listen, I told my boys, you probably get remembered in this game wrongly in some aspects for what you win, and it is about winning. And you look at Mark and what West Hull have done and Hunslet in recent times. We've got that consistency. We've got that hopefully cementing your place in the division, which is blooming hard. You know it, Dave. You've seen a lot of games, and difficult thing to do. And I think to sum it up, I thought we could have finished a little bit higher with some of the games we've lost, but equally the league's a long campaign, and it doesn't lie, does it? You can't play 22 games and worry where you should have been or could have been. It's every coach should do that. How did we lose there? How did we not do that? And this, and every coach you interview would say that. So we've had great numbers training. We've got a great youth structure. So we're probably, I'm not saying we'll be in the Premiership all the time, because that is, as I've just alluded to, a very difficult task. But
but you've got your club set up to carry on and keep producing, haven't you?
Yeah, and it's about people playing the game. We know the game. This isn't probably a lone opinion. The game's dying a slow death. I think anyone who really loves the game and watches that, it's dying a slow death. There'll always be great clubs. I'm not saying we're all going to go Siddal, Lee East, West Hull, Kells, but there's some clubs who it's just financially so difficult to run now that unfortunately, and I don't know whether it's lack of support by the government body would give us what they can give us, I suppose, but I would do things slightly different and make sure our foundations are done, and that's disappointing. I think for every amateur club and community-based club, the more help we can get, and that's not just make a better bar, I'm not saying that's just coach education, it's facilities, it's whatever. But
it's right across the board really, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think, listen, the sport will always carry on because it's the greatest sport, but I'm not so sure we distribute our wealth, even though as little as that is as good as what we could do. But we could talk and debate all day, me and you, about that, and a lot of other people. And I'm not saying these people are wrong who are at the top, but it's been a decent year for us. We aren't finished yet. Our A team's got another league game and then a top 4 playoff. So I've told the first team lads there that they better get their bottoms training, or there'll be fines doled out, because we need to support them, and some of them who play today will be playing in them. So it is what it is, you know. We couldn't have tried any harder, that's for sure. So
no, and like you say, you know, I always think that I always put yourselves, Siddal, West Hull, you're the benchmark clubs that everybody looks towards.
Well, that's very, very kind of you to say, but there's a couple of others in there, ones that have been really good recently, Rochdale, Mayfield, and, you know, bringing people into the game from overseas and doing that, and, you know, their community works fantastic. Set off a few years ago by Matt Calland and continued now by Butts, and, you know, it is a tough division. All of these clubs need a hand. We need a hand financially to make our facilities as good as we can, to retain kids into the game, because unfortunately in my day there was tens and hundreds wanting to play. There isn't now. There's other things for them to do with technology in this world and whatever, you know, other sports that they can get at. Maybe not in this area, but we need to compete with the more affluent sports to make sure rugby league is a sport of choice for more the masses. You know, ladies going well, but give some help to these community clubs, mine included, and we'll produce internationals for you at the top. Be it Siddal, be it Lee East, be it Hunslet, wherever. They've all been produced by a community club, I think, if they're English.
Very much so, yeah.
So why would you not invest in that? It hurts my head, Dave, we were talking before it, but I'm going to reiterate what you're doing, what the cameras are doing. Tough day for us, you know, to lose in a minute. I'm not even sure you can blow the whistle when it happens, but I'm not saying you can't, but I thought you would have a restart. But it is what it is, you know. We've lost, and credit must go to the Siddal club, and we wish them all the very best.
Ian, well, thank you so much. Thanks for hosting us as well. Much appreciated.
Anytime.
Ian Rooney there. Definitely disappointed, but very proud of his side and the progress that Wath Brow Hornets continue to make. You know, they are, without doubt, one of the strongest National Conference League clubs that the league has, and I think that the National Conference League and everybody within it can be very proud of what they achieve year in, year out, to keep right at the top end of that competition. They are a tremendous side, and Ian, he was telling me he's on, I think he was saying 565 games in charge now of that club. That's some going, that, isn't it?
That's huge, isn't it?
Absolutely massive. A man who doesn't have quite as many games under his belt is Gareth English, the Siddal player coach who played prop. And Gareth, you got yourself sin-binned, didn't you, in this game? Anyway, this is our conversation. Well, and with Gareth English, Gareth, you've got a smile from ear to ear. We're here after the game between your Siddal side and Wath Brow Hornets. It was won right at the very last second. Christian Ackroyd with the drop goal, the man of the moment. Talk us through it. Maybe not the drop goal, but the game as a whole. I mean, it was epic.
Yeah, well, everybody that's watched it, I think they'll agree it was a really top-end amateur game. I thought we were end-to-end. You could, well, obviously till last second, you could tell who were going to win it. We were all getting in the fight. But yeah, it was a really good game. It felt like a good game to be involved in, watching, playing, coaching in. So I hope it come across on the screens as a good game. And yeah, the last minute, you can't you can't want to get a drop goal and win a game any later in the game than the last play of the game, can you? There's no comeback there. I feel for Wath Brow, they've had another good season. They're a really top club, but we've just built on, and like I said before the game, the last 2 months the lads have been absolutely smashing with me and Jake, and we're just building slowly. And every win and around in knockouts is a bonus for us, and we're just enjoying the road as it's going.
Yeah, we had a chat before the game, and realistically, if you look 10 weeks ago, you was sort of just on a cusp and level with kind of like Lee Miners at the bottom of the table, weren't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, when I took over, me and Jake took over the club, it was the first goal was just to keep us up, get us away from the bottom three. We was 8th, 9th in the league at the time. We were just trying to get away from the bottom three, and that was his main goal. Then we won a couple, lost a couple, were a bit hit and miss. And like I say, we got a couple of long-term injuries back and just solided us up a little bit. And then, like I say, the last 6-7 games we've won 5 and drew 1. So obviously that shot us up the league. And up to last week when we had Rochdale, we knew we had to beat Rochdale, and we played well against them and just sneaked us into 5th position. Then we knew this was going to be a battle, and we've come here and we've shown what we're about. Mentality, his game plan wasn't brilliant, but we just stuck in it with his defence and obviously chuffed to bits with a win.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if we just go back a week to Rochdale, I mean, you knew that you had to win. You didn't just win, you smashed them, didn't you?
Yeah, the lads turned up. Yeah, like I said, the form, they've hit some run, they've hit form at the right time of season, I think, for us. Last week, Rochdale they needed to win to get third, or they had a chance of getting third, and we knew we had to win to get in the 6th. We thought we were just going to try and nick the 6th spot. But Rochdale, we played really well, played some really fluid rugby. And then we've backed that up today on the other side, just doing some really good defensive work. So it's pleasing. It's there, both aspects. It's just hitting nail on head and getting both sides together. And
I saw you a few weeks ago when you played over at Lock Lane, and you weren't far off. I think you just got pipped. It was something like 26-12 or something like that. But it was close and nip and tuck throughout until a couple of late tries. And it just seems from looking at that and looking at this today, you've just built on that as too.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, Lock Lane was a tough one. Yeah, we thought we was in that. We thought we could have beat them, and like I say, after that, we just had another regroup in the sheds as we do, and then we just said, right, we'll go again now and kick on. And we still knew by that point, we knew maybe another 3 points, 4 points to get us away from the relegation, but another 6 to 8 has put us back in the 6 and give us a chance. So, like I say, it's all credit to the lads. They've listened to what me and Jake have asked them to do in training Tuesday, Thursday. The numbers have been good, and we've just built on there. So hopefully next week, either Rochdale or Thatto, another tough game, obviously, as they are in the playoffs, and just go again. We grew up this week and hopefully kick on again.
How competitive is National Conference League Premier Division? Because you look at it, and overall your season, you actually got a losing season for the first time in ages, but yet you're 5th. Yeah,
it's crackers. If you don't turn up with right attitude, bottom of the league will beat top of the league in this Premier Division. It's a tough one. It's a tough one if you've got 2 or 3 people that aren't buying into everything on a Saturday. The bottom of the league all buy into it and they'll beat you easy. It's one of them leagues. It's a brilliant league to be involved in. I love being involved in it. I've been involved in it for years, and it just keeps getting stronger and stronger, and it's tougher and tougher. If you, like I say, there's some travels in it, but there's ups and downs of injuries and bans and whatever else. But the competition on the whole is really good, and that's why you see a lot of these pro clubs now try to pinch our players. Well, not pinch them, but obviously try at another level. But I think this level's brilliant, and I think the lads thrive in it, and it's just I just don't think you can beat it. I think it's good, top amateur level. I think it's really good.
Well, I've got you, and obviously I know I've not really spoken to you before. Tell me about your journey. Have you always been a Siddal boy?
No, I haven't. No, my dad actually formed. He was one of the few people that formed Ovendon back in the day. Yeah.
So this is where the link with Jake comes in.
Yeah. Well, as it goes, I started at Ovendon and I played there a lot of years. I did a couple of years at Keighley, a bit of pro there, and then I left Keighley and I come down to Lee Greenwood, the ex-coach who's now at Bradford, got me down to Siddal, and I've been here ever since. But Jake, funnily enough, I was playing for Siddal at the time, but I was still coaching Jake's Ovendon junior team. I actually coached Jake as a kid, so it's quite funny now that we're doing a coaching job together. But he's a great guy, he's Jake. He knows the game inside out. So yeah, no, I started at Ovendon juniors all the way through Ovendon juniors. Went and played a bit at Halifax Academy, then went to Keighley for a couple of years, played in first team there, and then come to Siddal. I've been here over 10 years now, and it's just a great club and loads of volunteers and loads of great guys around it, loads of good kids coming through the system. So yeah, it's a nice club to be involved with. I
know it's sad to mark what happened with Ovendon, because obviously they're not around as much anymore in the same sort of format that they were, are they? But what's that like? Is that the equivalent of like a Lee Miners, Lee East type thing of crossing the bridge?
When I first started playing Open Age, it was when we were in the same leagues. Yeah, it was a very fierce, competitive local Pennine league. Then in all the local derbies, you knew you were back in the winter rugby. You knew you were getting a bit of fisticuffs and stuff like that. There was a rivalry. A lot of us worked together at the same company, but we'd work all week. Then we'd end up playing each other on a Saturday. So it was a bit of fun, but on the field it was tough. And back in them days, you got away with a bit more. But yeah, the rivalry was massive there. It was, to be fair, it was my dad that told me to come to Siddal. I've been getting ringed up and pestered, and my dad went, just do it, because obviously we're in the second division at Conference, and obviously Siddal have been in Premier for years. So my dad just said, go do it, otherwise you regret it. And if your dad tells you that, you normally do it, don't you? Especially with his being a die-hard Ovenden man as well. You just do that.
And as you said, 10 years later, you've obviously loving your time at Siddal.
Yeah. Like I said, I've played just over 10 years now. Did a bit of coaching with second team and helped second team out for a few years. Then I got change shifts at work, so I couldn't commit to it. And I'm one of them guys, if I can't be there Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday every week, I can't be involved. I've got to be 100% committed to something. So I went away for a couple of years, and then I've just this season, the club have rang me up and asked me and Jake to come back in and help out and take over. And we're just committed for next season as well. So hopefully we can build on what we get at the end of this season, see how far we can take it, regroup, and then hopefully go again and be a bit stronger next year.
So it's just the start of the journey, this, isn't it?
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully it's just a stepping stone. See how we go this year. Like I said to you before the game, every week every round we get through in these playoffs is just a bonus for us. It's a bonus for us to be in it. So to win a game like that is another massive bonus. That's why I can't stop smiling. And now we either say it's either Rochdale or Thatto next week, and we just try and go again.
Best of luck for next week, and I'll keep my eyes on the results coming through.
Right, thank you very much. Cheers, pal.
I've got to say, it's absolutely magnificent when you can speak to somebody after a game and they've just got a smile plastered on their face from ear to ear. He knew how much his side given in that game. Yeah, he did get himself sin-binned at one point, and you know, it was funny hearing him say at one point, I can't remember whether the recording device was actually going at this particular point, but saying about the improved discipline of his side since both him and Jake Connor had took over, and yet he's the one who spent the spell in the sin bin, you know. So, but genuinely, this was such an enjoyable game for a result to go directly down to the wire. I mean, literally, the ball left the boot of Ackroyd, went over the post, referee blows up for full time. That's how close it was.
Yeah. And listening to that interview with Ian Rooney, you could hear the disappointments in his voice. I mean, and you've got to take your hat off to him there, because he was commendable all the way around, wasn't he? You know what I mean? But you could genuinely hear. Yeah, and you know what it was? It was those sort of like silences and the tone of his voice.
Yes.
You really felt for him there.
Yes.
And the things he was saying later on in the interview as well. I totally agree with him on what he's saying.
But to be fair, you know, for every winner you always have a loser, don't you? You know, unfortunately, and this time it wasn't to be for Wath Brow Hornets, but they'll be back.
Yeah,
they've got some tremendous players.
And the thing is, the way he was there and the disappointment, it shows he cares at the end of the day. How many times do you hear those sorts of interviews after the game from the people who have lost? You don't get that sort of emotion as such, do you?
You always do on this show.
Yeah.
You always do on this show, because it means so much to people to represent their community clubs in the way that they do. And, you know, let's be honest, you've got clubs that are built in people's images here, aren't you? You know, and the sheer grit and determination. These are just stories which they've been told since any of these clubs came on board, haven't they?
Yeah, and none of that is false. I mean, that is totally and utterly genuine. And you just listen to them, because some of them say, when I heard that interview, when you sent it through, I was listening to it, and I really getting, you know, sort of like I've never met the guy, but I felt so much for him. I'm on the other side, like you said. The guy was smiling from you know, sort of ear to ear. You could see that, even though you were listening to his voice, you know. So that was the different emotions, and none of that is manufactured. That is all genuine.
Yeah, and it was a fantastic advert for National Conference League Rugby League. But that wasn't the only game that was happening regarding the Premier Division on that day, because there was one outstanding fixture to take place on this particular day. It involved Wigan St Patrick's and Kells. So Wigan St Pat's relegated some time ago now, some weeks ago. They were up against Kells. This was a Kells side that had put themselves in a position where if they were able to win at Wigan St Pat's, they would march on into the playoffs in 6th position. But this is part of what I was saying about it. It was as if nobody wanted this 6th position. So before a ball was kicked, Thatto Heath Crusaders were sat in 6th and nervously watching the result from over at Clarrington Park. What I can say, Wigan St Pat's 32, Kells 18. An outstanding performance, to be honest, in a game that was 6-6 at half-time. Thomas scoring 2 tries and kicking 4 goals. Other tries going the way of Taylor, Hyam and Smith, with Gannon also getting himself on the scoreboard from a St Pat's point of view. From a Kells point of view, a disappointing end to the season for them, but they've made real progress considering that, as we've commented previously, they got promoted from Division 1 at the end of last season. So they've made some real strides in the Premier Division this year. They had tries from Garner, 2 from Culneen and 3 goals from Gainford, who's been amongst the most consistent of players in the National Conference League Premier Division this season. But ultimately, Wigan St Pat's 32, Kells 18. Into Division 1, and it was the promotion playoff semi-final. So Heworth were pitted against Skirler, and it was the Villagers who were dominant. Couple of tries from George Elliott, couple from Richmond, 1 each from West and Jackson, with goals split between Sadler, who kicked 4, and Allen, who kicked 1. It was 10 points nil at half-time to Heworth, and for me, that was a real dominant performance from them. A surprising result in the other semi-final, so Stanningley had finished above Oulton Raiders in the final analysis of the league table. So they hosted Oulton Raiders. Final score here, Stanningley 12, Oulton Raiders 28. So Dyer, Dixon and Phipps scoring for Stanningley, 2 goals from Butterell, and the Raiders, they have tries through Jagger, Whiteley, Kendall, Waters, Walpole scoring 2 and kicking 2 goals. And they built on their half-time advantage, which was 18 points to 6, to win by 28 points to 12. There was also a fascinating battle in the promotion playoff semi-final in Division 2. This was a game that you was at, Steve, wasn't it? Woolston Rovers 20, Wigan St Jude's 18. And a hat-trick from Adam Files, if you remember, as you said last week.
Yeah, and as I was saying, it was one of those where he went over to the first one, and I was actually at the end of the pitch rather than the side of the pitch for this one, certainly in the first half, and you could hear the St Jude's team arguing over somebody needs to pick him up, and ironically he went over for 2 identical tries, and you're thinking, you just can't stop this guy. It was a really good match. It was one of those where you thought, is it going to be unfold where Woolston are going to come unstuck in the second half, because there was no score right up till it's a lot of like 5-8 minutes to go, and Jude's sort of got a score on the board to make it really close, and you thought, is it going to be another Normanton Knights type scenario for Woolston? But they didn't. They hung on and took the win.
Davis scoring the other try as far as Woolston Rovers were concerned. 2 goals, importantly, from the boot of Craig Lawton. For Wigan St Jude's, well, they went down, but not without a fight, as you suggested, Steve. So Melling, Cassidy and Morley Samuels, the try scorers, with Cassidy, who's had an eventful season, it must be said, playing both at Crossfields and then going back to where perhaps he's most loved and most recognised over at Wigan St Jude's.
He was involved in everything, Dave. And I know when he moved, and we saw him at Crossfield, and we said if they build a team around him, then they won't go far wrong. And to be fair, like you say, he just slots in really well there back at Jude's, and he has his hands on the ball, God knows how many times in the play, and then obviously his goal kicking as well.
There was one league game left to play in Division 2 as well. That involves Saddleworth Rangers against Myton Warriors. And Saddleworth Rangers, they've been on one heck of a run over the last few weeks. Again, a few weeks ago, they were looking over the shoulder. They were thinking, are we going to be playing Division 3 Rugby League next season? The answer is an emphatic no with the run that they've been on. They've only went and pushed themselves into a playoff position. So they beat Myton Warriors by 30 points to 20. Mills, Wilson, Steve Neild with 2 tries and Hart grabbing their scores. Whitehead kicking 5 goals. And for Myton Warriors, they had tries from James, who grabbed 2, Daniels and Walker, with Kay Walker kicking 2 goals. So a bit of near and yet so far as Myton Warriors were concerned on the day. Division 3, well, we had a playoff promotion semi-final. That saw Lee East defeat Driglington by 36 points to 10. Just 12-10 to East at half-time. Really close first half. In the end, in the final analysis, East scoring a couple of tries through Ben Wharton, 3 from Kieran Prescott, 1 from Will Ludlow. Aspinall kicking 6 goals, and for Drig, Hallis and Makinson going over the line with Joe Sanderson adding the 1 goal. And as we mentioned last week, a disappointing end to the season as far as Beverley are concerned. They got themselves in a playoff position and then didn't get on the bus to go over to Millham. So because they couldn't raise a team, they said that they weren't going to travel. Millham had that tie by 24 points to 0. So that in itself set up an intriguing last sort of like hurrah this weekend. And I've got to say, we saw a couple of finals, that were involved. So over in the Division 1 final, Heworth hosted Oulton Raiders. That one was a resounding 46 points to 6 win as far as Heworth were concerned. And it is Heworth who will line up in the Premier Division again next season for the first time since 1999. That's following that dominant 46-6 defeat of Oulton Raiders in the Division 1 promotion decider on Saturday. It continues an amazing story for one of the NCL's founder clubs who have fought their way back from stepping down to the Yorkshire Men's League to claim a spot back in the top echelon of the community game. It was a tight first 10 minutes, but once the hosts found their groove, they were irresistible. Liam Richmond opened the scoring, regaining his feet after good work from outstanding Jack Aldous and Ben Dyson-Dent. Danny Allen goaled and was at the hub of the next score. 3 tackles after the restart, the ball went left for James Morland to get away from a tackler before Allen unselfishly handed the ball back to the wingman for a spectacular try. A third try came quickly when Liam Jackson drifted right and found George Elliott, who raced in without a hand being laid on him. Things got even better when Allen turned try creator once more and Richmond claimed his second try, storming through the hole. Jack Sadler landed his 50th NCL goal of the season and it was 22 points to 0 after 27 minutes. A couple of minutes later, Heworth were knocking on the door again after Richmond stole the ball from Oulton fullback Keedan Hartley in a one-on-one challenge, and Sadler sent substitute Jack Earl crashing through an attempted tackle at the side of the post. Sadler moved the advantage to 28-0 with the boot, and that is how it remained until seconds from half-time when skipper Fraser West seared through to cross at the corner. 9 minutes into the second half, Dyson-Dent was hit after he passed the ball, and Harvey Williamson of Oulton was sent to the sin bin. 2 minutes later, a tackle from Andy Williamson, his dad, on Jackson, saw him dispatched to the sin bin to follow his son. Within seconds, Tom Barron was held up over the line on the left, but the prolific Elliott supported West on the right for his second try. Sadler couldn't add to his 3 goals. Oulton launched an attack of their own when Nathan Waters saw his pass intercepted, but they were backpedaling and a tip tackle from fullback Hartley saw a third yellow card produced for the visitors. On the hour, a long ball from Sadler gave Elliott time to send Billy Sturdy in for Elliott to goal, and when Oulton lost the ball 5 minutes later, West arced right and put another 4 points on a plate for Sturdy. That completed Heworth's account at 46-0, and there was a further yellow card shown to the hosts at Harley Axe following a small flashpoint as the game went into its final 10 minutes. Holdsworth was then held over the line for Oulton, but there was no stopping substitute Jordan Blagg when he hurtled onto Andy Williamson's pass to claim a deserved consolation for Oulton Raiders. And Kieran Walpole, prolific this season with 8 tries and 66 goals, added another to his credit. There was no stopping Heworth though, with mass celebrations commencing on the final whistle. Absolutely superb performance on the big day from Heworth. It was a really well attended game as well. Lots and lots of happy, smiley faces. And it was one of those days where I remember having a similar sort of conversation last year, because I remember covering the promotion final last year, which I think it saw Wigan St Pat's get promoted, courtesy of a win against Skirler. And I remember speaking to Skirler after that match, and they said, we played the best match of our season in the semi-final, and that would appear to be what Oulton Raiders did. They were missing quite a few players. I know it's community rugby, but typically a couple of players have disappeared off on long holidays just at this time of year, so perhaps they weren't even expected to be in this position at this time of the season. So they were a credit, and I'm really glad that they got over a try at the end. We just had a crazy period though, where basically there was 3 sin bins in space of 10 minutes for Oulton. So at one point they were looking up were Heworth and thinking, we can't not score, we're up against 10 players. And somehow they only added 2 tries in that period of time. So, again, tremendous commitment from Oulton. But as I said, I think they played their best game in the semi-finals.
Yeah, I think when you're 2-0 down at half time, you're up against it, aren't you?
So difficult.
Yeah.
So difficult.
But yeah, Heworth hit the straps, good style, and sort of put them to the sword at the end.
And it's a great story because, they stepped down from the National Conference League in 2015 to go and rebuild. At the time, they were a struggling club. I don't think they had the reserves. I think they were down low on numbers. And, they didn't want to make that decision, but in the end, they had to for their own benefit.
We've spoke about this before, though, Parky, haven't we? That if you're going to struggle, there's always that option of dropping down and doing exactly that.
They went into the Yorkshire Men's League, rebuilt from there, entered the National Conference League structure again in 2019, and they've just been a success story. They've got promoted, and next year they're in that Premier Division for the first time in 24 years, Steve.
That's going to be interesting for them.
It's a generation.
They're going to be another one of those where they're going to be... people are going to have to keep their eye on them.
Yeah, but it also sets up an intriguing local derby there against York Acorn next season.
That should be superb, that.
It's one we've got to go. We're going to have to get along to that one, aren't we? I'm looking at that fixture already and thinking, you know what? We're going to have to get along to one of those. Absolutely superb. Now, after the game, as you can imagine, there were scenes of wild celebration from Heworth. And one man who took a little bit of time out to speak to me was their hooker, Harley Axe. And this is what he had to say.
Well, I'm joined by Harley Axe. I tell you what, Harley, what a performance that was from Heworth to win up and win by 46 points to 6 in the promotion decider.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I mean, last week we had a little bit of adversity, not at our best, and today we've turned up, and inevitably the defence wins games, and that's what we've done today. We've defended well as a team, as a pack, and then the scoreline shows it.
I mean, they chucked quite a bit at you, certainly in the first 20 minutes, and then in the second half they had nothing to lose at all, did they?
No, it were tough down that middle all day long. They're a big set, they just keep coming all day long, and we've just had to stick it out, grind it out, and that's a good thing about us. We grind down the middle and then let the edges play when they need to play.
I'm sure a lot of the old boys here at Heworth have been saying it's 24 years since you was last in that top division. What a way to get up.
I think yesterday was the playoff year to date yesterday to go up into NCL. So obviously we've come up there from Yorkshire Men's all the way up to NCL Premier, and we're going to have a big season and a good go of it next year.
It's a super story, isn't it? When you consider, like you said, how far the club has come in such a short space of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great club, it's a great infrastructure around it. I mean, we come up to training on a Thursday and a Tuesday, and there must be 7, 8, 9, 10 teams training, multiple girls teams, loads of kids teams, 2 adult teams, and when you've got an infrastructure like that, there's absolutely no way that a club can't perspire and grow.
And these fans as well, I mean, they were noisy throughout, weren't they?
Yeah, it was fantastic today, just seeing everybody come out and shout us, cheer us on, and just give a good day. It's been a lovely sunny day for everybody, and hopefully we can transfer that, have a nice drink this afternoon, and keep smiles on his face.
I mean, a lot of that was particularly done in the first half, where I thought you played some tremendous stuff.
Yeah, we just had to grind it out really, and as soon as we got that ball, we focused on his areas in training, we get into 1 point and we play from there. If it's not working, we grind it out, we kick deep, and then we reset again. And just take us time, that's all we've had to do, just take us time today, and them chances will come, and obviously the scoreline shows we took the chances when we needed to second.
There's going to be one hell of a party happening here now, isn't there?
There is, yeah, we've got the music on now, so hopefully we can carry that on. There'll be a lot of singing and dancing in changing rooms, and then on to next year and competing there. That's it.
Just before I let you go, what's your story with this club? Well, what's your, have you been a Heworth man and boy?
No, unfortunately, I'm not born and bred Heworth. It was my first season last year in the NCL with Featherstone Lions. One thing and another, they ended up folding, unfortunately, and I've got a good friend in Johnny Payne who plays here, our number 8, and he said, come and play. A few people's pestered me, and the club has made me feel so welcome in the short amount of time that I've been here, playing, kit, friends. It's unbelievable, and I can't see myself going anywhere for a number of years, or until at least hang my boots up in a few years.
I suppose it's quite a compliment then, if I've seen, if you've been the man and boy, because that shows how well you've settled in.
Yeah, and there is a lot of people that are man and boy here that's come from being kids and coming all the way through. We've got a lot of 18, 19, 20-year-old breaking through squad and in the squad as well, so it's even better to see that the homegrown players are still here, and we're recruiting new players from outside and just trying to grow the club and grow the team.
Cheers, Harley. I'll go and let you join your teammates,
Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate it. Nice speaking to you.
All right.
So great to hear there from Harley Axe, and interesting little story with him that he started last season with Featherstone Lions. Now we all know that they withdrew from the league sort of after about 9 or 10 games, I think it was, in Division 1, and it was interesting hearing Harley saying that he got talked into going down to Heworth.
Yeah.
And he loves it. He absolutely loves it. He thinks that, the lads there are top. He's got one of his best mates who he's playing alongside there in Johnny Payne. And genuinely, he sounds like he's having the time of his life there.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of community rugby, isn't it? I mean, you can go and play with your mates, basically. If you want to get down and enjoy it, and it's surprising how, when we talk about some of these clubs, I think we spoke about how many clubs there are around Dewsbury, how many clubs there are around Wakefield, and again up in Cumbria. You've got to look at that. Surely, if you're going to play, if you want to play the game, and you can play with some of the lads who you either work with or you socialise with, that's going to make it a lot easier for you turning out to training on cold, wet nights during the middle of the week, isn't it?
But yeah, great to hear from Harley, and thank you very much. And I'm sure it was the best of weekends at Heworth after that particular game. But what a result from them, 46 points to 6. So that was one of the playoffs that got decided. The other one saw Lee East head up the M6 to take on Millom. And this was one heck of a battle between these two. And I was having a chat to one of the guys that is up at Millom, and another guy who's on the NCL management committee, and he said this was a fantastic atmosphere there. They reckon that nearly 2,000 people were watching this one.
Yeah, I heard about that, yeah.
The whole town turned up to really lend the weight of their support to the Woolybacks, and the Woolybacks, they treated them to a 20 points to 6 victory. Now it was only 6 points to 0 at half time, and I have to admit that it was really, really close to half time when Millom went in for the try. So your try scorers for that one were Thompson, a good friend of the show, Rio McQuiston, and O'Brien, with Postlethwaite, another lad that I know from one of my tours way back when, kicking 4 goals for Lee East. They had a try from Lewis Elts, converted by Aspinall, but sadly for East, it's another season in Division 3 next season. But elation for Millom in getting out of that 3rd division and playing Division 2 Rugby League. And, I want to say it's a big credit to what they've got going on there at Millom. Yes, I know that they had an interesting part of the season where they had Tongans galore playing for them, and Fui Moi went up there and had a game two games.
Yeah.
It's named on a team sheet a couple of times anyway, put it that way. But it created and forged the interest up there. overall, they're a very young team, so when you've got someone like Rio McQuiston, Jack Newbegin, who I was away with the under-19s last year in Italy, Heroes of Italy, I hasten to add, both of those guys have said that they've virtually been stalwarts of the side this year.
Yeah.
They've played week in, week out. They've added, a lot to their game. They've got younger players that are coming through. They just seem to be playing at the zenith of their powers at the moment. And I think they're going to get even better over the coming years. So I think they're going to go well next season. They're going to certainly mix up the apple cart in Division 2 somewhat. So that's your division playoff finals that were decided. But what about the playoffs in the Premier Division? Well, after Kells being knocked out of the... or knocked out of playoff contention, it meant that Thatto Heath Crusaders did indeed claim that 6th spot, and they went over to Rochdale Mayfield. That was played on a Tuesday night. Mayfield winning by 22 points to 6. Nothing between the sides at half time once again, Steve. Saunders scoring a try and Jones kicking a goal for the Crusaders. For Mayfield, they just got on top in the second half, scoring tries through Foden, Travis Long, Penkiewicz and McVeigh, with Park kicking 3 goals. So Rochdale Mayfield, they marched on in the playoffs, and that set up an elimination semi-final against Wath Brow's victors, Siddal. And this sounds like it was an absolute humdinger. So I've seen pictures, I've seen videos. Once again, there was over 1,000 people at Rochdale Mayfield. Yeah. I can imagine that ground with 1,000 people on it. That atmosphere must have been electric. And it really helped Mayfield to get home in that one. They won by 14 points to 8. Now, we commented about the Division 3 playoff and about it only being 6 points to 0 at half time. It was even a lower score in this one, 4 points to 0 to Rochdale Mayfield. In the end, they scored tries through Wayne English McVeigh and Dakota Tolhurst, with Devlin Long kicking 1 goal. Meanwhile, for Siddal, they had a try from Ramsden, 2 goals from Joe Martin, and ultimately their season was ended by a 14 points to 8 defeat. So, Rochdale Mayfield go on in the playoffs, but who are they going to play next week? Was it going to be Hunslet or was it going to be West Hull? West Hull have been the team that everyone's been talking about. Certainly we've talked about them a lot, haven't we, over the last few weeks. They've been a team that's been in tremendous form, and I was really looking forward to seeing what the result of this one was going to be, because I thought if anybody's going to turn over Hunslet, it's going to be West Hull. How wrong was I? Hunslet winning by 40 points to 18. They led by 24 points to 6 at half time. Once again, Tyler Dargan showing his finishing prowess. I've seen just one of his tries, an absolute perler. It came from a kickoff. So basically the ball went deep. Second row runs it in down the right hand side. Looks like he's going to get tackled, slips the ball out to a support runner who then feeds it infield, and it's fed infield again, and Tyler Dargan's nipped in off his wing to take the pass and gone zoom right under the post. It is a stunning bit of rugby league action, to be honest, and one of 3 tries that the youngster has scored. He's a guy that just knows where that try line is. Ben Shulver, McClelland, Jack McShane and Al Rawi going in for the tries. Jordan Gale kicking 6 goals for Hunslet. For Wests, well, they live to fight another day. They had tries from Stewart, Wood and Moore, with Wilson kicking 3 goals. But ultimately, it sets up an elimination semi-final next week. Rochdale Mayfield have to go over to West Hull. It's a place they haven't won at themselves in 3 years. So they've got to upturn the form book of Rochdale Mayfield to get over West Hull. But it's Hunslet who head into the National Conference League final. Going to be held at Featherstone, that one, by the way. So, what have we got coming up? There's a couple of games remaining. The other game I've not mentioned was the Division 2 promotion playoff semi-final. So, I mentioned about how well that Saddleworth had done. in picking up the 6th spot. Shawcross Sharks, well, they have also had some really good results this season, largely when I've not been around to see them in action. And this one finished Shawcross Sharks 30, Saddleworth Rangers 12. So the Sharks scoring tries through Frayne, Ripley, Neagle, Russell and Smith, with Tomlinson kicking 5 goals. The Rangers scoring tries through Morgan and Neild, Whitehead kicking 2 goals. At half-time, it was 16-6 to Shawcross Sharks, and they've done well to get that job completed there, haven't they, the Sharks?
Yeah, well, I mean, we spoke about them regularly. Obviously, we went out and saw this fixture, obviously the reverse fixture, and we saw both sides.
That was a hell of a game, that.
It was.
And this one sounds like it was a hell of a game, with Shawcross Sharks getting on the right side of the result this time.
And again, we spoke of the backlog of fixtures that Shawcross Sharks have come up against, and they've been really resilient, haven't they? And that is absolutely super. Because I must admit, I thought, would it catch up with them? Because, you know, we talk about, you know, the professional ranks, it catching up with them. But these guys, I mean, obviously they're working during the day and then playing rugby in the evening. And yeah, they've done very, very well. And congratulations to both sides there, because they put, you know, so put a great day on.
So of course, that sets up 2 tremendous fixtures this weekend in National Conference League. I implore you to get to one of them at least. 2 crackerjack games coming up. West Hull taking on Rochdale Mayfield. Winner goes through to the National Conference Premier Division Grand Final. And in Division 2, there's the promotion playoff between Shawcross Sharks and Woolston Rovers, Steve.
Yeah, Shawcross Sharks, obviously we've just been on about and from a Woolston point of view, I spoke to Mal Holt after their game against St Jude's, and he thought they might come up against Shawcross Sharks, and this is what he had to say. Just an absolutely superb match, playoff semi-final Division 2, and I'm with the successful coach Mal Holt. Mal, give us your thoughts on that.
As we thought, Steve, it was a tough one. They turned us over twice this season, and turned us over quite convincing as well, so we knew it was going to be a tough one. I think once we knew we'd secured the home tie, that was probably in our favour a little bit, as it should be. But you watched it was down to the wire. We got a bit nervy towards the end. First half, I thought we were in complete control. I think they didn't really struggle with us we didn't struggle with them in the first half, but I think we completed 2 sets in the second half, and I think we just didn't complete. We didn't do well. We didn't roll them well. We did everything wrong that we did right in the first half, really.
Yeah, I mean, it was a war of attrition in that second half, and I know all season both yourself and Billy have been saying second halves have been a bit of a problem in some respects.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair to Billy, Billy's done a lot of work with him this week in training, and for the last 2 or 3 weeks on ruck, and obviously calming it down and doing stuff right. We like to spread the ball, but sometimes we try to overspread it, we try to overplay, and sometimes we've got to play simple. And when we were warming up there with the forwards, Adam Files, who obviously went over for 3, said, look, we've just got to get grubby at times. And to be fair, he got grubby 3 times, and you know, he's got 3 tries, and he did win it. He did win it for us in the end, but you know, he's well supported by Harry again and the full pack. I thought our 2 forwards that came on, Ryan Palin and Matt Taylor, who's the old heads, just calming us down, doing them short stints, going and making a mess of themselves and getting in under the skin a little bit helps us a little bit as well.
Yeah, and I suppose this now, the way things have gone throughout the season, you started off really well, on fire. Had a little bit of a shakes in between, but you're coming good at the right time.
I think so. But again, we've got to see what the outcome of the Saddleworth and Myton game is today, and then obviously that'll depend on who goes to Shawcross. But I think we've got in our head that we're going to go Shawcross in the final. We played them here last week, and again it was a good game, and I expect a tough, rough game going to Shawcross, and so it should be in a playoff final.
Congratulations, mate.
Cheers, mates. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So there you go. That's Mal Holt. He predicted that they'd probably be up against Shawcross Sharks. I wasn't 100% sure last week, I must admit, but obviously he'll have him and Billy Sheen will have the team ready to see how they can go. And obviously, from our point of view of having seen Shawcross Sharks, as we say a couple of times, we know that's going to be a really, really good game.
I'm going to whisper it lowly here, but I'm thinking of going across to that one.
He's off again. He's off
Now, I mentioned the Holman Eagles and Cumberland League before, and I failed to mention in this one, by the way, Steve, it's the top 4 playoffs this coming weekend. So the teams that have made it through, Dissington will host Loker, Wath Brow Hornets A will host Kells. So the winner of those will go through to the final of the Holman Eagles and Cumberland League. Tremendous game in prospect, whoever gets through. Now, Northwest Men's League, Steve.
Northwest Men's League, yeah, it was down to playoffs again, ready for the finals, which are going to be coming up this weekend. And we've got Premiership division. We had Ashton Burrs 24, Oulton Farmworth 6. I was at Haresfinch in St Helens on Saturday for the Northwest Men's Premier Division playoff between Haresfinch and Orrell St James, who finished 2nd and 3rd respectively. And after heavy overnight rain, the pitch was in good condition and a healthy crowd had gathered to support both teams. Orrell took advantage of some strong concerted pressure on Haresfinch in the first 20 minutes and were the first on the scoreboard after Bradley Kelt went in for a try, which he duly converted. Haresfinch had been very resilient in that first 20 minutes and scrambled well defensively, and they started to make more forays into the Orrell half and hit back with back-to-back tries from Lynch and Tatlock, with Ainsworth adding the extras to 1 to finish the half strongly and go in at half-time at 10 points to 6. Finch continued where they left off in the second half and pressurised well and was successful when Danny Large went over, with Ainsworth again being successful with a conversion to take the lead to 16 points to 6. The sides then traded tries, firstly from James Dandy for Orrell and then for Large for Finch, who weighed in with his second for the afternoon to take his side into a 2-score lead, 22 points to 10. Orrell, though, never the ones to throw in the towel, started to find success down the Haresfinch left and exploited it to the full advantage to get back-to-back tries themselves, with James Causey and Brad Calland. Only one was converted, but it dragged them back into the game at 22 points to 20. Orrell now had the momentum, and as time drifted into the final minutes of the game, a smart move saw half-back Jack McHugh latch onto a pass which he took to go under the posts. Kelk being on hand to add the extra 2 points to take Orrell into the lead for only the second time in the match, and they held on for the final few minutes to complete a great comeback, 26 points to 22. So for Orrell, a brilliant end to a game against a tough Haresfinch team, and they now boot their place in next week's grand final. For Haresfinch, not the result they wanted, but what a season it's been for the club. From making the National Cup final to the first season in the Prem and finishing second and getting into the playoffs. And they certainly didn't look out of place at all. Congratulations to both sides. Look forward to watching Orrell next week in the final. So yeah, absolutely superb game, Parker. Got to take my hat off to everybody who was there supporting the game. As I said there right at the end, away support for Orrell was really good. Cracking day, sort of weather-wise as well, because there really had been some heavy rain the night before, and I thought, is it going to be a real heavy, sort of forwards game? But it wasn't. It was a real open game, and it's going to be interesting to see how they go on this weekend against Ashton Burrs.
So that's another final, isn't it, for both of these clubs? It's the same final as last year.
I think it is, yeah.
But last year the games were held over at Latchford. They're at Introse Bridge this year.
That's right, yeah.
So who else won in the other divisions?
Right, we got Division 1. It was Foley Lane 20, Thatterweath Crusaders A 16.
Great win that for Foley.
Yeah, Foley Lane just squeaking through there. And this was a big one, Wigan Spring View 18, Dalton 20. Then we got Division 2 with Burton Wood Bridge 42 and Newton Storm 16. Burton Wood, just, and I've said it time and time again, absolutely red hot. But probably the surprise one was Goulburn Parkside 14, Ashton Burrs A 28, which, Parky, that means Ashton Burrs have got both of their sides through to a final of their relative divisions. So that should be really interesting weekend for Ashton.
And I don't want anybody throwing any accusations around because they're being played on the same day, so they can't fill them with ringers.
No, true. Yeah, that's not the sort of thing people would do. Division 3, Westbound Bears 22, Garswood Stags 28.
Oh, what a great result that is for Garswood Stags.
And then we got Waterhead Warriors A 34, Higginshaw 24. So that sets up Garswood Stags will be taking on Waterhead Warriors A. And then finally down into Division 4, Runcorn Highfield. Well, they had a bye as league leaders.
How did that happen? Is that because we've got less teams in that division or something?
It could well be. The other was Bank Balls up against Liverpool Lizards, and it actually says no result, but I know Bank Balls actually went through. So that will be, which will be an absolute blinder, Runcorn Highfield against Bank Balls. Because if you remember, the difference between these two was basically 1 point in the two games. One game was drawn,
okay,
and the other one was won by 1 point. So it's two teams that are really going to go head to head, and that will be an absolute blinder, I'd say. Yeah.
I think I know where you're going to be this coming Saturday then, because these games being played at Ince Rose Bridge, they're being split over 2 days, aren't they, Steve?
That's right, yeah. And on the Saturday, we kick things off at 11 o'clock. That will be it's Bank Bulls versus Runcorn Highfield. And then the Division 2 playoff, which will be Ashton Bears A versus Burton Wood Bridge. That's at 1 p.m. And then rounding things off will be the Premier Division playoff final, and that's Ashton Bears versus Orrell St James, and that's at 3 o'clock.
That's going to be intense, that one, isn't it?
Huge. Because, as someone said, the top of that division, you've had three teams there. You've got Haresfinch, you've got Ashton Bears, and you've got Orrell St James, who have all been there or thereabouts. And I think I mentioned at the end of my report there for the Haresfinch versus Orrell St James. Got to have a big shout for Haresfinch, because it was only after the game had finished I sort of realised that we'd watched them in the Barla final earlier on the year, where they were Elderon against Siddal, who obviously had an NCL side, and obviously from what we've seen, the way they've performed this season and got into sort of a good shape at the end of the season. The Elderon against them, they've obviously finished in the top three. They've just got knocked out in the semi-final, but last year they were in the division below, so they've actually been promoted from the first division up to the Premier, and all season they've been one of the teams to beat. So it just shows you, if you can get on a roll when you're moving up, and get a good team together, and they've got a good setup there as well. It's a great ground to go to watch, and they've got a good set of people. And what I liked was when we went to Barla, watched them in the Barla final, and they produced all the merchandise, etc. for the fans. And you go now and they've all got the Finch shirts on, and all the different T-shirts, not just the standard polo shirts, which are in and around, which are very, very nice. But you got the kids with the nice little black shirts on with the Finch written on the front. And so yeah, they've got it right, and you've got to say well done. Nothing lost. I don't think this season. Some people may say, "Oh, hang on, we've won nothing." Hang on, you've won a lot of pride, and you've won a lot of sort of hearts, and the sense just setting you up ready for moving forward.
So there's 3 games being played on Saturday.
That's right.
2 on Sunday, Steve. Same venue, same place. I was going to say same time, but obviously we've got 2 games and not 3.
Yeah, on the Sunday we've got the Division 3 playoff final. That's Garswood Stags. They take on Waterhead Warriors A. That's at 1 o'clock. And then the Division 1 playoff final. Well, we've actually got some unfortunate news about this, Parker. Unfortunately, Dalton can't raise a team. It says, unfortunately, with the playoff final being scheduled for a Sunday, the work commitments within the squad mean that we are unable to field a team. Fixtures cannot be switched to the Saturday, therefore we have made the difficult decision not to play the final. And that is so sad, and obviously it's something that possibly needs looking into in the future. Not heard anything with regard to whom, or if anyone, that might fill that spot, but keep in touch with our Twitter and we'll keep you updated.
Looking forward to those. Again, if you're in the Northwest, go and catch and cast your eye on some of the rugby league talent that's being played in the community levels. Yorkshire Men's League, and we had the semi-finals of the Premier Division last weekend. Fryston Warriors 23, Westcote Common 16, Newsham Panthers 28, Doncaster Tollbar 18. Listen, any one of those four, or any two of those four sides could have got through to the final, couldn't they? They've gone hammer and tongs all the way through the season. Absolutely tremendous, but well done to Fryston Warriors and well done to Newsham Panthers on reaching the final stage. In Division 1, it was Keighley Albion 36, Woolston Rovers 6. That's a great result for Keighley Albion. And then Stanley Rangers getting the better of local rivals Ossett Trinity Tigers by 32 points to 28. And again, I'm interested seeing the revival really of Stanley Rangers, because not that long ago they were a National Conference League club, and it sounds like they're getting themselves back together again, and they're really pushing for honours this season. In Division 2, Bradford Dudley Hill, who were once upon a time a National Conference League club, 96, Illingworth 0, Wibsey Warriors 23, Queensbury 22. I will say, fair play to Illingworth. They turned up.
They did, and apparently Bradford Dudley actually declared after tea.
I'm going to leave that one there. Division 3 playoff semi-finals. There's another big result here coming up, by the way. Seacroft Sharks 34, Wyke 18, Castleford Panthers 76, Methley Warriors 6. And I'm looking at the League Express. There's no match report on that one this time
there's no match report there.
And then the one result from the whole division, East Hull 48, Myton Warriors 12. So your fixtures this weekend, again, it's similar to what's going on in the Northwest. We have playoff finals. So there's the Division 3 playoff final being played on Saturday, 1 p.m. kickoff. Castleford Panthers taking on the Seacroft Sharks, and then at 3 o'clock in the Division 1 playoff final, it's Keighley Albion up against Stanley Rangers. Both those games being played at the Horsfall Stadium in Bradford, which to me and you is the host venue of West Bowling.
Right.
And then on Sunday, we have the Division 2 playoff final, Bradford Dudley Hill against Wibsey Warriors. It's a local derby that's being played yet again at the Horsfall Stadium in Bradford. And the Premier Division playoff final, Fryston Warriors against Newsham Panthers. Again, it promises to be a superb affair, that one, and a really, really good game. And in the whole division, well, there is one more game to go between Myton Warriors and East Hull. So, still plenty of rugby league around and about, isn't there, even at this late juncture of the season. Steve, anything else to add?
No, just obviously this is the sharp end of the season as we talk about, where we get to deciding those things, and it's going to be, great to see. I'll be down there on Saturday watching the Northwest Men's at Ince Bridge. Can't make it, unfortunately, on Sunday, but nevertheless, if you want to get down and get some value for money, because I certainly can tell you, if you're going to go on the Saturday or the Sunday or the both, certainly the Northwest Men's and the Yorkshire Men's, you're going to get some great games, and that's what it's all about. We were on about Millham and Rochdale. They're having lots of people supporting. At the end of the day, it's great value, and you will see some good games. There's no ifs and buts about it.
Yeah, you definitely will. I'm going to head over to Shawcross on Saturday. Sorry, Paul. I can't not go to a playoff final, can I?
He'll be at you, Mr. March will be at you.
And sorry to Westy as well. I know I said that I was giving myself a ban till the end of the season, but the pull of the Shawcross Sharks is just too much, isn't it? A playoff final up against Woolston Rovers, a side that you've seen numerous times this season. I've seen them a couple of times as well, and they can play some good rugby. That's going to be entertaining as well.
If they hit the straps, which they seem to be doing, and certainly that Jude's game, it was probably one of the better second halves they've played in a long while, and it's probably the best game I've seen them play all season. And obviously, it's in the straps, as we say, at the right time. So we've seen Shawcross Sharks They play some good stuff as well.
Now, weather dependent, there may be an appearance of another broadcast at the weekend from Shawcross, but we'll wait and see on that one.
That'll be interesting.
I could stand by the main road actually, because you've got a natural high point on the pitch then, and a great view. But if it's raining, there's no cover, so I might have to take an umbrella and hope for the best.
All I can say is watch out on our Twitter feed for Parky putting out that he's going to be doing it.
Yes, but again, thank you so much. Thanks to everybody that's took part in the show. Thanks for all the feedback that we've been getting as well. All right,
just one quick mention,
yes.
Parky, before we go. Got to mention, obviously last week we were at the game between the GB Police and the North Wales Police.
New South
Wales
yeah.
Police. And we were invited to go to the presentation by Mark Hoban from Portico Vine. Well, Portico Vine played a match against Burton Wood Bridge reserves, or second team, at the weekend, and they won by 32 points to 24. So fingers crossed.
They're on the rise there, aren't they?
That's good, because obviously we'd been talking to him about them having an open age side, and he said, he mentioned that they would see how things were going. Well, they've been playing, obviously, I don't know whether it's Merit League or just organising friendlies, but I know both sides are looking to start, certainly Burton Wood are looking to start an 18 because they've got enough players. Portugal Vinder, that is a good win. That is a very, very good win.
And the more sides, the merrier.
Yes,
that's what it's all about. We
very much so.
More and more people playing rugby league, and if not playing it, certainly listening to us talking about it and getting down to your community clubs, because that's what it's all about. Steve, once again, thank you ever so much for your efforts.
No problem, Parky.
We'll be back again at some point next week to review it all. Have a good one.